So much for news releases, Mr. Speaker. Today's announcement of the carbon competitiveness incentives is another blow to Alberta industry. 110 companies across 13 industrial sectors will pay for their output-based allocations based on the industry-specific benchmarks costing $1.3 billion per year and every year. To the Minister of Energy, whose benchmark are you using for the oil sands industry? It better not be Carnegie Oil Climate Index. Is it?
The Honourable Minister of Economic Development and Trade.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the new carbon competitiveness incentives will support large industrial emitters to be more competitive while reducing emissions and encouraging investment in renewables, Mr. Speaker. Rather than paying lip service to reducing emissions, something members over there, former members when they were government, did, our approach rewards a best-in-class for large emitters. This is going to encourage a race to the top, Mr. Speaker, something the members opposite have no clue what that is. They would rather see a race to the bottom, stick their heads in the ground, pretend that climate change isn't real, and beat our Alberta oil and gas into the ground.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. For supplement.
Mr. Speaker, given the leaked memo says the Alberta Climate Change Office puts 6 oil sands projects at risk, and given Alberta Energy believes 15 oil sands projects are at risk of negative gross profit margins from these output-based allocations, since the Energy and Environment departments are at odds and cannot agree, to the Premier, how many oil sands projects are at risk, 6 or 15, and who is telling the truth?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll remind the member and the House and Albertans that once again the information the opposition is using is completely dated and does not reflect the substantial work that our government has done with industry. Now, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the opposition loves to jump up and down and scream and run down Alberta businesses, run down Alberta industry. What I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, is that our government for over 2 years has been working collaboratively with industry to come up with a plan that ensures that they are not only going to remain viable, but that we are going to increase their competitiveness to be able to compete on the global scale. We have the support of industry, Mr. Speaker. I wish the
Given, Mr. Speaker, the NDP plan to spend $1.4 billion on innovation over 7 years to cut emissions, and given the analysis on the output-based allocation shows royalty revenue is projected to drop at least $140 million by 2021, to the Premier, how do you expect to balance the budget when the NDP succeeds to shut down the oil sands, lay off workers, and lose royalties?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the premise of that message or question couldn't be further from the truth. I'll remind the members of all the investments that have been occurring within our oil and gas sector, including JACOS, the Japan Oil and Gas Company, that invested $2 billion to expand their facilities. We see Suncor is investing. We see other companies expanding their assets and looking at making investments. Mr. Speaker, thank goodness the opposition isn't government, because they truly would kill our oil and gas sector. We are working collaboratively with them. We are coming up with programs that are going to incent innovation.